From Blueprint Games, and this is a small tutorial that I got as a request on how I made my wallpaper pieces from the modular pieces tutorial that I did before. So the first thing you do is you need your modular piece that you want the wallpaper to be based from. Make sure it's all unwrapped first. That'll make things easier down the road. Bring your 3D model into your 3D modeling program, and then select the polygon for the wallpaper, and you want to hold shift and drag that out to make a copy. I'm going to clone to object and I'm going to rename this as wallpaper. Okay, so next step, I select my wallpaper piece and I'm going to add some extra polygons to this. But before we do that, I just need to adjust the pivot point. So you want to go to your hierarchy and go to Effect, Pivot Only, and center that to the object. Okay, so then now I need to add some extra polygons. So I select my edge mode and I click here. And then I want to press ring and connect, and then I'm going to add in some segments. That should be enough. Just bring that up to 50. Okay, so the reason why I've done that is we're going to add a bit of distortion on this model. So I'm just going to go up to here and show my edged faces and select my new model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some noise. So I select my model, go to my modifier list, press N to bring up noise and select that. And then I want it to do it in the Y direction. So what I'm going to do is it's sort of like a water distortion effect. So you've got some damaged wallpaper and it gets quite, you know, sort of parts of it are sticking to the wall, parts of it aren't. So I add a slight noise to that and I change the scale slightly. Let's go for something like that, about 4, and adjust this until I get a very subtle effect. Maybe a bit more there. It's a bit down to personal preference as well, so you don't have to follow my exact numbers, just something you prefer. So I'm going to go for something quite light like this, quite subtle. And then I'm going to convert that back into an editable poly, right click. And then I'm going to change the smoothing groups, because if you look at this without the edge faces, that doesn't look quite right. So I select all my polygons, come down to my smoothing groups and press 1. Okay, so that's the first step. Now I want to have it actually peeling away from the wall around here. You could just leave it like this. This could be a variation of it. But we're going to add a bend modifier next. So I add the bend modifier, and then I select the direction I want it to bend from. Now, it's going to be peeling from the top first, but you could have it from the bottom or the sides. It's up to you again. And I'm going to select my bend axes and add a limit effect. So this is going to mean that when I bend it, it's going to keep this bottom part intact. So you'll see what I mean in a minute. I'll turn it off for now and show you how it looks without. So I select my bend axes. I'm going to go with the Z and select a direction and bring that in front. So what the limit effect is going to do is keep this in place. So I click on the limit effect and I drag out the upper limit like this and give it a nice bend, like so. So again, you can sort of play around with this and get the effects you want. You might want to add another bend modifier to have this coming away this side a bit more. So let's just adjust with the angle a bit more. Since you might want multiple versions, because if we look back to my version on Unreal, I've made multiple versions of the same wallpaper, so you can have a bit of variation in your level. Okay. So I'll add another bend modifier maybe. And you can sort of play around with it a bit. You might need to collapse the other one for it to do anything good. Collapse all. There's lots of ways you can sort of adjust this. You can also, something I did was do a FFD, so you could select this and you can have a little bit more control on it again. So you can select these points, so you expand this and press control points. And then you can control each of these points to sort of play around with it and adjust it the way you want it to be. So you might want to bring that down more like that. Have a bit more control on it. like so. Okay, so I'm going to collapse that again, and then you might want to add a relax modifier maybe. Nope. Okay, that doesn't seem to be doing anything. I don't think I did that right. Okay, never mind. I thought that would do something better, but... Okay, so you can see why I said to unwrap before, because we've still got the same sort of UVs here. Just a bit of distortion. And then the next part is that you want to have a second material on the back, so I'm going to show you how that is done in Unreal. Just seeing if there's anything else I could change to this. Oh right, the next thing is you want to make sure you optimize this. So this is actually quite high poly at the moment for what it is, as you can see. So you might want to come down to Pro Optimizer or something. Add the Pro Optimizer. You want to make sure you protect your borders and keep your UVs. So keep textures, keep UV boundaries, and calculate. And then you can bring down the level of polys. I'm just going to remove the edged faces so I can see how that's changing, since you want to have enough detail in there still. So you don't want to lose all your detail, but you want to bring down the amount of polys you have. So it's about 170 polys. It's not too bad. But you might want to manually delete some polygons where it's not being particularly useful. Oh gosh, I left all my other modular pieces in there. Okay, let's just go back. Right, now I'm going to bring this across so it's in place of my modular piece here, like so. Bring that forward a bit. And then I'm going to export this out. Select that, export, export selected. And I'm going to call that SM_wallpaper1. So you might have multiple variations. That all seems good. Okay. Come into Unreal, and then I'm going to import this model that we've just made. Where are you? My desktop's pretty messy. There we are. Just messing around with the source control. There we go. So I have my new wallpaper here. So I'm going to drag that out. Just to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this material that I've made onto that. Like so. And I'm going to take you through how I made this material. So what you have is the second material on the back to make it look more like wallpaper. And the reason why I put the pivot point there is so that if I drag this out with this at the same time, it sort of snaps to it. So I'll show you quickly. So if I grab my wall piece and my new wallpaper piece and I drag these out at the same time, it sort of snapped it to there for me. Although this hasn't automatically got the right material on it. Let's just find that material that I made and I'll talk you through that. Okay, so this is the material that I've made. This was quite a long time ago, so let's see if I can remember what I did exactly. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is two-sided texturing. So you want to tick this box here, two-sided. Then I plugged in my normal stuff, so I added in... Okay, this is where I went different. It's a node called two-sided texturing. I'm sorry if this was a long time ago when I made this. So you want to type in right-click, two-sided texturing, click that in, like so. And then you want to just plug things in like how I've done here. So this is the texture I'm using for the back of the wallpaper. So I've got my normal wallpaper, which I've plugged into A, and then plugged into the base material, so the output. And the other side is using these macro variations and a color. So I've got my sticky side, which I've then plugged into side B. Then you want to do your normal. This might be slightly different because I think this was slightly before, or maybe not, PBR. Anyway, yeah, so you want to plug your normal map in. So I've got my normal map for the exterior and the wallpapery based normal map here. And you want to make sure that you keep the sides accurate. So like the base color for the wallpaper needs to be on A on all of them. So I've got this one hooked up to A and this one hooked up to A. It's a bit like the vertex painting. You want to make sure that they all correlate to the same thing. Then I've got my metallic roughness and ambient occlusion. So once again, this is the wallpaper exterior. So then it goes into A and this one goes into B, and it all hooks up using this node, and that will give you the two-sided material, like so. So hopefully that wasn't too long of a tutorial. That's how I do my wallpaper. Oh, that's quite shiny. It was quite an long time ago when I made the wallpaper. That's why I'm a little bit rusty telling you how I did it again. Sort of recalling how I did it. Hopefully that's useful to you. You might want to play around with those nodes a bit, or those modifiers, till you find an effect that you're happy with. But yeah, you can make loads of variations on this, just to add a bit of extra detail. As for when I had behind here, you actually want something to change, because obviously the wallpaper is no longer on the wall. So what I did quickly to solve that was just to add a plane behind with a concrete texture. But what you could do is have perhaps a different material ID on this part of the wall, and you could change it to a default concrete texture or something like that, since that obviously doesn't look quite right. But yeah, my quick fix before release was just to quickly add a plane in behind that with the concrete texture already on it. So I hope you found that tutorial useful. If you've got any other requests, please put them in the description of that below. If you like the video, leave a like. If you've got a question, just leave a comment. I'm trying to do some more tutorials. It's quite hard at the moment with my schedule, and I have to keep everyone in the office quiet whilst I make these. So it's not very convenient, but I'm going to try and do more of them as I go. So hopefully you'll see more tutorials again soon. So I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you!